My name is Magdalena. I'm 21 years old and I'm from Southern California. And I'm studying studio art. My main focus is in ceramics, and I really like bringing feminism into my work, particularly with sculpture. A big part of my inspiration in my art are actually dolls, particularly porcelain dolls. From a very young age, my grandfather gave me and my sister a matching porcelain doll for every birthday and Christmas. And this even continued after his death because he left some over that my mom would then distribute to us. And growing up with these dolls in my life, and then later on in my life, I decided to start collecting them. It really made me realize a few conceptual aspects about them. And those aspects made me want to integrate them within my art. So to start off, the doll is a simulacra for women. They're these perfect beauty standard, polished ideals that are given to women at a young age that in a way say you should look like this, you should want this to be your future. And furthermore, when a doll is given to a young girl, it's in a way forcing a motherly role onto this young girl, which almost hinders their ideas for what they can grow up to do. And I think that that part of it is very interesting as well, because it's like almost like saying you're a child, but here's a child for you to parent. And then what's even more interesting is the porcelain doll, it's supposed to be a toy, but it's not actually supposed to be played with. Most porcelain dolls are too delicate and too expensive to actually be played with by a child. They can only be taken care of, they can only be looked at, and they can only perform. And I think that that directly mirrors the societal role that people push women into, which is to be looked at and to perform. When you're presented with this miniature version that in a way is simulating you, even if it doesn't look like you, I think you have this sort of innate desire to project yourself onto it and for it to become a part of you. These ideas of being able to control and being able to project and being able to perpetuate personality traits and attributes onto these almost in a way blank canvases sets this very cold tone for how women are treated as they grow up. When you look past porcelain dolls, it only gets more insidious, I'd say. Like, if you think about sex dolls, for example, are kind of this adult version of this simulacra for women that is objectifying them, turning them into a sexual object, but that's not what my inspiration comes from. But I do think that these ideas I carry throughout my work can be applied to other dolls as well. At least porcelain dolls have aspects about them which make them unique, which makes them represent some sort of human adult women, but mannequins, on the other hand, are just beauty standard. When I was a freshman at college, I remember one of my professors told me to look at Barbara Kruger's work, and that's when I really started to think about feminism, especially in the scope of art, but then also just in general. Specifically with ceramics and also fiber arts, I think there's a big conversation around craft and art. And that's something that I'm personally very interested in. I think that a lot of kinds of sculpture were not valued as art because women particularly did them. And a lot of my focus is kind of on reclaiming those, as well as just trying to represent feminist principles through the scope of sculpture. So not just creating sculptures that show feminine aspects or a side of femininity, but rather genuine feminist principles. a really great part of ceramics is the chemistry and is the uncontrollable part of the creation and the glaze process and the firing process. And I think that that can really be related to a woman's beauty and to her natural beauty. And I think that also something that ties into both is, as I've grown older, I've really understood the importance of having a lot of self-love and loving yourself and the way you look and your beauty no matter what. And I think that that kind of ties into ceramics, because I think that with certain things you just kind of need to learn to appreciate them, like when a firing messes up or a glaze drips too much. I think that those kind of things you just need to learn to be like, you know what, that's just the way it was supposed to be, and that's okay, and I think it's beautiful.